COVID is here to stay, and as we reopen, perhaps what will become important is knowing whether you have antibodies or not. Now, how do you develop antibodies? We know that either you have to be vaccinated or you must have contracted the infection and then recovered. Now, this is something that perhaps can help once we start reopening. This is a kit, a test kit, a rapid antibody test kit. What you need to do is, perhaps if you do a diabetes test at home, a blood sugar test at home, you prick your finger, you take a drop of blood and you put it here on this kit. And then of course there are these markers which will indicate whether you have antibodies or not, and what kind of antibodies you have, whether they are whether they're just after the infection or whether after you've recovered from the infection. So this is of course the test that will, the first thing of course, like any test, is you disinfect it with a with a alcohol swab. So the disinfection happens, and then of course the prick, like a blood sugar test prick. So the blood, you can see the little drop of blood there, that will of course be picked up, and then of course it's as simple as dropping it into the test kit, and then of course doctor will put the solution that's also required, and then of course the test begins. So joining me now is Dr. Viral Gandhi, the Chairman and Managing Director of Voxter Bio Limited. Living with COVID, how do you think this plays into that, this fits into that, when we start living with COVID?
Okay. So as you know that we are the first in India, to receive the manufacturing license for COVID antibody test for IgG and IgM. When you talk about antibody test, post-vaccination as well, and post-opening up of the lockdowns, when people will start going to their offices and schools, antibody testing will be mandatory. I mean, and probably in times to come, probably Indian government will look into the matter of getting it giving the permission for the home testing as well, as it is already available on home testing platforms in European countries and many other countries.
More cases means obviously there is a requirement for more testing, because more people want to get tested at this point. And I have Dr. Viral Gandhi with me here, but he'll tell us now about this viral transport medium, right? So how has the demand for this gone up, and why has it gone up?
Basically, initially when there was a first wave, there were lack of facilities for testing, and also the manufacturers of the tests were less. So the increase in the demand has grown so high that it is almost 3 times than the first wave, because the testing facilities have really grown.
And in the last few days, also we are seeing the number of tests go up. Has that also in the last few days?
Huge.
How much? Could you give us an idea?
It is almost 3 times than what we were doing it in the first wave.
So we're done with the test. We take the blood in this dropper, put it in the kit, and then of course if you see here, this will now show me, and the doctor from Voxter Bio Limited will tell us. So you can explain to me what is the result showing me.
We can see here only control line, and
which means the test is proper.
Test is proper, and we can't see here line on second, second and first. So that means person is negative for the COVID. That person is not infected previously with the COVID virus.
So if one comes, that means that
IgM, that is the early infection. When we are infected,
which means then I should also do a COVID test.
So once we will infected, then first IgM will be produced in our body to fight with the
virus. That will show up on one.
And then IgG antibody will develop.
IgG antibody, which is after I have recovered from the infection. That is number 2. So in this case, both are negative.
Both are negative.
I haven't got the infection, but I also don't have antibodies.
Yeah.
Once the government perhaps goes through the necessary procedures and grants permission for these kits to be sold openly, kits like these, for example, diabetes tests, they're openly available in pharmacies. So is say for example a pregnancy kit also. These are all similar kits. Similarly, you will have a COVID kit perhaps in the days to come when we truly start living with COVID, because we are still now in phases of lockdowns. We are still sort of trying to fight the battle, but once we start living with it, once there is enough days pass, perhaps kits like these will become more part of our lives. In Mumbai, with camera person Sanjay Mandal, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.